The moment the doctor said, "There's nothing we can do to save your son," I felt my knees buckle, but I didn't cry. Not in front of him. Because standing beside me, with fake sympathy in his eyes, was the man who murdered my husband and now wanted my son gone too. My name is Camilla Ward, and I used to believe in family. I used to think that blood meant loyalty, that brothers protected each other, that uncles loved their nephews. But when my husband died in a mysterious car crash and my son collapsed just weeks later, I stopped believing in coincidences. What my husband's brother didn't know, I already knew everything. And while he thought I was broken, I was busy planning how to break him permanently and legally. This is the story of how I took down the man who destroyed my family. How I made him pay for every lie, every manipulation, every drop of poison. His name was Marcus Ward, and he thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. It started 3 months ago. My husband, Jason, died in a highway crash. His car went off a bridge at 2 a.m. The police said he'd been driving too fast, lost control, hit the guardrail. They said it was an accident, a tragic, senseless accident. I knew better. At the funeral, Marcus showed up looking devastated. He hugged me, told me how much he loved his brother, promised he'd help me through this difficult time. "Jason would want me to take care of you and Noah," he said, gripping my shoulders. "Your family." Everyone thought he was being supportive. I thought he was being suspicious, because Marcus was calm. Too calm. He didn't cry, didn't break down. He just watched everything with calculating eyes. After the service, he pulled me aside. "The company is going to need leadership. Jason left a lot of things unfinished. I can help manage it until you're ready to make decisions." "That won't be necessary," I said quietly. His smile tightened. "Camilla, you don't know anything about running a business. Let me help." I said no, Marcus. Something flickered in his eyes. Anger, maybe, or frustration that I wasn't cooperating. 2 weeks after Jason's funeral, my 9-year-old son Noah collapsed at school. 1 minute he was playing basketball, the next he was on the ground, unconscious. I got the call while I was at work. My heart stopped. By the time I reached the hospital, Noah was awake, but weak. The doctors ran tests, blood work, scans, everything they could think of. "We're seeing some concerning indicators," the lead doctor told me. "His organs are showing signs of stress, his liver particularly. We're not sure what's causing it yet. Is he going to be okay? We're doing everything we can, but we need to figure out what's happening." They kept him for observation. I stayed by his bedside, holding his small hand, watching him sleep. He looked so fragile, so young. My beautiful boy who'd already lost his father. Marcus visited the next day. He brought flowers and a teddy bear. "Poor kid," he said, looking at Noah. "First his dad, now this. Life isn't fair." "No, it's not. You know, this medical care is expensive. If you need help." "We're fine, Marcus." He nodded slowly. "The company could help cover costs. If you reconsider my offer." Marcus kept coming back. Every day, he'd show up at the hospital with some excuse, bringing food, checking on Noah, offering support. But mostly, he talked about the company. "The board is getting restless. They need direction. Jason's death left a power vacuum. I'm Jason's widow. The shares are mine now. Legally, yes, but managing them? That's different. You need someone who understands the business. Like you. I'm family. I want what's best for everyone." Liar. He wanted what was best for himself. Noah got worse over the next week. He couldn't keep food down. He was tired all the time. His hair started thinning. The doctors were baffled. They ran more tests, consulted specialists, tried different treatments. Nothing worked. Marcus watched it all with his fake concerned face. "The burden of this company's stress must be affecting you. Maybe if you had less to worry about, you could focus on Noah." He was trying to manipulate me, using my sick son as leverage to get what he wanted. I played along. Let him think I was desperate. Let him think I was weak. But I was watching, noticing, remembering. One afternoon, while Noah was sleeping, I noticed something odd. His fingernails had black spots on them. His hair was thinning in patches, not evenly. I'd seen these symptoms before in a medical documentary. They were signs of poisoning. Chronic, long-term poisoning. My blood went cold. I called in a nurse. Has anyone besides me and the medical staff been alone with Noah? She checked the log. His uncle visits regularly. Sometimes when you're getting coffee or taking breaks. Marcus. It was Marcus. I requested a private meeting with the head toxicologist on Noah's medical team. I explained my suspicions quietly, carefully. I think my son is being poisoned, and I think I know who's doing it. The doctor listened without judgment. We can test for that. But if you're right, we need to be very careful. Accusing someone of poisoning a child is serious. I know. That's why I need proof before I do anything. They ran toxicology panels. The results came back 2 days later. Noah had high levels of thallium in his system, a heavy metal that causes exactly the symptoms he'd been showing. Someone had been poisoning my son. Slowly, methodically, the toxicologist pulled me into a private room. Your instincts were correct. Noah has been poisoned over the course of several months. The levels suggest consistent, small doses. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Someone had been deliberately killing my child. Can you save him? Yes. Now that we know what we're dealing with, we can treat it. We'll start chelation therapy immediately to remove the toxin from his system. How long until he recovers? If we start now, he should be significantly better within 3 weeks. Full recovery in a few months. I started crying. Relief mixed with rage. Mrs. Ward, do you know who might have done this? Yes, but I can't prove it yet. And I need your help. What do you need? I need you to tell everyone, especially his uncle, that Noah is getting worse. That there's nothing more you can do. That we're running out of time. The doctor understood immediately. You're setting a trap. Yes, and I need Marcus to think he's winning. The medical team agreed to help. They started treating Noah immediately, but told everyone that his condition was deteriorating, that we were running out of options. Marcus visited the next day, right on schedule. The doctors say there's nothing they can do, I told him, my voice breaking convincingly. They're just trying to make him comfortable now. Marcus's face was perfectly sympathetic, but I saw something else in his eyes. Satisfaction. I'm so sorry, Camilla. This must be devastating. I don't know what to do. I can't lose him too. I can't lose my son. Maybe there's something I can do. I have connections to private doctors, experimental treatments, but they're expensive. I'd pay anything. Unfortunately, the company funds are tied up right now, unless someone with authority could authorize emergency access to capital. There it was, his real offer. What are you saying, Marcus? Sign over control of the company to me. Just temporarily. I'll get Noah the treatment he needs. It was such an obvious trap. Such a cruel manipulation. But I pretended to consider it. I need time to think. Noah doesn't have time. Marcus came back the next morning with the contract. He'd had it prepared in advance, which told me everything I needed to know. This had been his plan all along. This is a temporary transfer of authority, he explained, showing me the pages. You remain the owner, but I handle all business decisions. Once Noah is healthy, we can renegotiate. And you'll get him treatment? I already have a private doctor on standby. The best in the field. He can start immediately. I looked at the contract. It was worse than Marcus described. It gave him complete control. There was nothing temporary about it. If I signed this, I'd lose everything Jason had built. I need a few days to process this, I said. Camilla, every day we wait. A few days, Marcus. That's all I'm asking. He looked frustrated, but agreed. Fine, but don't wait too long. After he left, I called my lawyer. I need you to review this contract, and I need you to start building a case against Marcus Ward. What are we looking at? Murder, attempted murder, fraud, and probably a dozen other charges. My lawyer was quiet for a moment. This is serious, Camilla. I know. That's why I need the best. While pretending to consider Marcus's offer, I worked with my legal team around the clock. We started investigating everything. Jason's death, Noah's poisoning, Marcus's finances, the company records. We were building a case that would destroy him. Meanwhile, Noah was actually getting better. The chelation therapy was working. His color was returning. He was keeping food down. But we kept up the pretense. Told visitors he was declining. Let Marcus believe his plan was succeeding. I also started reviewing Jason's personal files, things he'd kept at home, private documents and notes. That's when I found something that changed everything. Hidden in Jason's study, in a locked drawer I'd never noticed before, was a folder labeled MW Do Not Trust. Inside were printouts of emails, financial records, and handwritten notes. All about Marcus. Jason had known. He'd known Marcus was planning something. There was even a letter addressed to me. If you're reading this, something has happened to me. Marcus is dangerous. Protect Noah. I'm sorry I couldn't stop him myself. I sat in Jason's study reading through everything he'd documented. It was like hearing his voice again, warning me from beyond the grave. He discovered that Marcus had been embezzling from the company for years. Small amounts at first, then larger sums. He'd created fake vendors, approved fraudulent invoices, siphoned money into offshore accounts. When Jason confronted him, Marcus had threatened him. I deserve half of this company. Father should have left it to both of us. But their father had left everything to Jason. Marcus got nothing, and he'd spent years resenting it. Jason's notes showed he'd been planning to expose Marcus, to go to the authorities with proof of the embezzlement. Then Jason died in a convenient car accident. There was also a note about concerns Jason had in the weeks before his death. Marcus asked about my mechanic, said he wanted a recommendation. Why would he suddenly care about car maintenance? My hand shook reading that. Marcus had planned the accident. He'd tampered with Jason's car somehow. And now he was trying to poison Noah, trying to make me so desperate that I'd sign away everything. I found something else in Jason's files. Encrypted audio recordings. It took my IT team 2 days to decrypt them, but when they did, we struck gold. The recordings were from Jason's office. He'd been secretly recording his conversations with Marcus in the months before his death. In one recording, Marcus was furious about being excluded from company decisions. I'm your brother. I deserve a place in this business. You deserve what you've earned, Jason replied calmly. Which is nothing. You've stolen from this company. You've lied to investors. I should have you arrested. You wouldn't dare. I'm family. That's the only reason I haven't already called the police. There was a long silence. Then Marcus said something that made my blood run cold. You're going to regret this, Jason. I promise you that. It was a threat, clear as day, and recorded proof that Marcus had motive to kill my husband. I made copies of everything, stored them in multiple secure locations, sent backups to my lawyer. If anything happened to me, the truth would still come out. One recording was particularly damning. It was from 2 weeks before Jason's death. Marcus had come to Jason's office late at night. The recording caught their entire conversation. I know what you're planning, Jason said. I know you're going to try something, but I'm documenting everything. If anything happens to me, Camilla will know. The authorities will know. You're paranoid. Am I? You asked my mechanic about my car's maintenance schedule. You've been asking my assistant about my daily routines. You think I don't notice? You're seeing conspiracies where there aren't any. Then prove me wrong. Stay away from my mechanic. Stay away from my family, or I'll destroy you. Marcus laughed. You can't touch me. I'm your brother. Watch me. 3 days later, Jason's car went off a bridge. I listened to that recording 10 times. Each time, I heard Jason trying to protect us, trying to stop Marcus. He tried to warn me, tried to document everything so I'd have proof. And I was going to make sure his death wasn't in vain. I tracked down Jason's old private investigator. His name was Anthony Cross, and he'd been helping Jason document Marcus's crimes. I was devastated when Mr. Ward died, Anthony told me. I suspected it wasn't an accident, but I had no proof. Did Jason tell you what he was investigating? Everything. The embezzlement, the threats, the suspicious behavior. He asked me to keep an eye on Marcus in the weeks before his death. And Anthony pulled out his own files. Marcus was following your husband. I have photos of him sitting outside your house at night, following Jason to work, watching his patterns. He showed me photo after photo. Marcus's car parked down the street. Marcus watching from a coffee shop across from Jason's office. Marcus at the same gym as Jason, pretending to work out, but actually watching. He was stalking his own brother. Yes, and I documented all of it. When Mr. Ward died, I tried to give this evidence to the police. They said it wasn't enough to prove anything, but it's enough to establish a pattern of behavior. Exactly. I added Anthony's evidence to my growing file. My legal team dug into Jason's car accident. They found the mechanic who'd last serviced his car. The man had moved to another state, but we tracked him down. At first, he refused to talk. But when my lawyer explained we had evidence of fraud and murder, he broke. Marcus Ward paid me $5,000 to tamper with the brake line. He said it was a prank on his brother, that Jason would just think his brakes failed and need to get them fixed. But it wasn't a prank. No. When I heard about the accident, I knew what I'd done. I tried to leave town before anyone connected me to it. Why didn't you go to the police? Because Marcus said if I told anyone, he'd make sure I went down for murder. He said no one would believe a mechanic over a respected businessman. We recorded his confession, got it notarized, added it to the file. The evidence against Marcus was becoming overwhelming. We had motive, means, and opportunity. We had witness testimony. We had financial records. We almost had enough to destroy him. Going through Marcus's finances revealed more crimes. He hadn't just embezzled from the company. He'd been running multiple fraudulent schemes. Fake investment funds, phantom contractors, money laundering through shell corporations. My forensic accountants found a wire transfer for $5,000 sent to Jason's mechanic the week before the accident. Marcus hadn't even been smart enough to hide that transaction properly. There was also evidence that Marcus had purchased thallium, the poison used on Noah, from a chemical supplier. He'd used a fake company name, but the delivery address was a warehouse he owned. Everything was coming together. Every piece of evidence building on the others. I used legal loopholes to freeze the company shares Marcus had been trying to access. I had the board issue new authorization requirements. I blocked every financial move he tried to make. Marcus called me furious. What are you doing? You're destroying the company. I'm protecting it. From you. You can't do this. Actually, as the majority shareholder, I can. Jason left everything to me, Marcus. Not you. You get nothing. I heard him breathing hard on the other end. You're making a mistake. No, Marcus. You made the mistake. And now you're going to pay for it. Marcus started threatening me. Nothing overt. He was too smart for that. But the implications were clear. Things could get worse for Noah if you're not careful. The company has a way of destroying people who don't know what they're doing. Accidents happen, Camilla. You should be more careful. I recorded every conversation. My lawyer had advised me to wear a recording device 24/7. Every threat Marcus made was being documented. One night, he showed up at my house uninvited. We need to talk, he said, pushing past me into the living room. You should leave. Not until you sign over the company. Stop playing these games. Games? You murdered my husband. You poisoned my son. And you want me to give you Jason's company. His face went cold. Be careful what you accuse people of. Or what? You'll kill me too. I don't know what you think you know, but you're wrong. I know everything, Marcus. I know about the mechanic. I know about the thallium. I know you've been planning this for years. He stepped closer. You can't prove any of that. Can I? Something in my voice made him pause. Made him realize I wasn't bluffing. After Marcus left, I increased security at my house. Installed cameras. Hired a bodyguard. I wasn't taking chances. At the hospital, Noah was actually improving rapidly. The doctors were amazed at his recovery, but we kept telling Marcus he was getting worse. I don't know how much longer he has, I told Marcus during one of his visits. Days, maybe. The offer still stands. Sign over the company, and I'll get him treatment. I'm running out of options. Then make the smart choice. Meanwhile, my legal team was preparing the final pieces of our case. We had enough evidence to prosecute Marcus for murder, attempted murder, fraud, embezzlement, and witness tampering. We just needed one more thing. We needed Marcus to incriminate himself directly. My lawyer suggested a strategy. Invite him to a family meeting. Tell him you're ready to sign, but make it a recorded deposition without him knowing. Is that legal? If we do it right, yes. We'll frame it as a mediation session, required by company bylaws. He'll sign a waiver agreeing to be recorded without reading it carefully. And then what? Then we get him to talk. Get him to explain his whole plan. Make him think he's won. It was risky, but it might work. I visited Noah at the hospital. He was sitting up in bed, coloring a picture. He looked so much healthier than he had 2 weeks ago. Mom, when can I go home? Soon, baby. Very soon. Is Uncle Marcus going to keep visiting? Something in his voice made me pay attention. Do you not like when he visits? Noah looked down at his coloring. He's nice, but sometimes he gives me juice and I don't feel good after. My heart stopped. What kind of juice? From his special bottle. He says it's good for me, but it tastes funny. That's how Marcus had been poisoning him, through drinks he brought to the hospital. Noah, this is very important. Don't drink anything Uncle Marcus gives you anymore. Okay. Did I do something wrong? No, sweetheart. You did exactly right by telling me. I kissed his forehead and went to find the doctors. We need to check any containers Marcus Ward has brought to this hospital. I think we'll find traces of thallium. Sure enough, security found 2 juice bottles in the trash with Marcus's fingerprints on them. Lab analysis confirmed they contained thallium. We had proof. Direct. Undeniable proof that Marcus had been poisoning Noah. The trap was set. Now we just needed to spring it. I called Marcus and told him I was ready to sign everything over. I can't watch Noah suffer anymore. You win. He tried to hide his satisfaction, but failed. You're making the right choice. There's one condition. We need to have an official family resolution meeting. Company bylaws require it for transfer of this magnitude. Fine. When? Tomorrow. My lawyer's office. Just you, me, and the mediator. Marcus agreed without suspicion. The next day, he showed up at the law office confident and smug. He didn't notice the cameras, didn't read the waiver he signed carefully. He thought he was finally getting everything he'd wanted. My lawyer played the role of neutral mediator perfectly. Mr. Ward, can you explain why this transfer is taking place? My sister-in-law is overwhelmed. Her son is dying. She needs help managing the company. And you're willing to help? Of course. Family takes care of family. Even though you're not actually related by blood, your brother married Mrs. Ward, making you connected only through marriage. Marcus smiled. Jason would have wanted me to step in. Would he? Even though he suspected you of embezzlement. Marcus's smile faded. That's a lie. Is it? My lawyer pulled out documents. Financial records showing the embezzlement. Emails between Marcus and the mechanic. The wire transfer for $5,000. Mr. Ward, did you pay to have your brother's car sabotaged? No. This is ridiculous. Did you poison Noah Ward with thallium? Absolutely not. Then why were juice bottles with your fingerprints and traces of thallium found in his hospital room? Marcus stood up. This is a setup. I'm leaving. You can't. You signed a waiver agreeing to complete this mediation. If you leave now, you forfeit any claim to company shares. He sat back down, trapped. Let's discuss what really happened, my lawyer continued. You were angry that your father left the company to Jason. You embezzled money for years. When Jason discovered it, you decided to kill him. You paid a mechanic to tamper with his brakes, causing the accident that killed him. You can't prove that. Actually, we can. The mechanic confessed. We have the wire transfer. We have recordings of you threatening Jason. Marcus's face went red. Those recordings are illegal. Actually, they're not. Jason was recording conversations in his own office. Perfectly legal. My lawyer laid out more evidence. Anthony's surveillance photos. Jason's notes. The testimony from hospital staff about Marcus bringing drinks to Noah. Then you poisoned Noah to pressure Mrs. Ward into signing over the company. You thought you were so clever. Small doses over months, making it look like a mysterious illness. Marcus was sweating now. The problem is, Mr. Ward, you left a trail. You always leave a trail. You're not as smart as you think you are. None of this will hold up in court. Want to bet? We have physical evidence, witness testimony, financial records, recordings, your own fingerprints on bottles containing poison. My lawyer slid a final document across the table. This is a confession. Sign it, and we might recommend a lighter sentence. Refuse, and we'll make sure you face maximum penalties for everything. I'm not signing anything. Your choice. My lawyer stood. Camilla, I think we're done here. I looked at Marcus. For the first time, he looked scared. You thought I was desperate, I said quietly. You thought I'd give up everything to save Noah. But I was just patient. And now you're the one begging for mercy. Marcus said nothing. We walked out, leaving him sitting alone in that conference room. The next morning, FBI agents and corporate investigators raided Marcus's home and office. They seized computers, files, bank records, everything. The evidence we'd compiled was enough for multiple warrants. Marcus was arrested at his house, handcuffed in front of his neighbors. The charges were extensive. First-degree murder, attempted murder, fraud, embezzlement, witness tampering, stalking. His bail was set at $5 million. He couldn't make it. The private doctor Marcus had promised to cure Noah. He didn't exist. It had all been a manipulation tactic. More evidence kept surfacing. Text messages Marcus had deleted but investigators recovered. Financial records he'd tried to hide. Witnesses who came forward once they knew it was safe. Every piece of evidence made his guilt more obvious. The trial was scheduled for 6 months later. But Marcus's lawyers knew they couldn't win. The evidence was too strong. They tried to negotiate a plea deal. Marcus would plead guilty to manslaughter and fraud in exchange for a lighter sentence. I told the prosecutors to reject it. He gets no deals. He goes away for life or we take this to trial. They agreed. Marcus went to trial. I testified about finding the poison, about the threats, about everything he'd done to my family. Noah testified too, in a closed session designed for children. He told the court about Uncle Marcus's special juice, about how he'd felt sick after drinking it. The mechanic testified about the bribe. The hospital staff testified about Marcus's suspicious visits. The forensic accountants testified about the embezzlement. The evidence was overwhelming. Marcus's lawyers tried to claim he was being framed, that I had manufactured evidence out of revenge. But they couldn't explain the physical evidence. The fingerprints, the wire transfers, the recordings. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the verdict was clear. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without possibility of parole for the murder charge alone. The other sentences would run consecutively. Marcus would die in prison. He'd never see freedom again. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked at me one final time. I saw rage in his eyes. Hatred. I felt nothing but satisfaction. With Marcus convicted, his assets were frozen and eventually seized. Every dollar he'd stolen was recovered. The money went back to the company and to victims of his fraud schemes. Noah made a full recovery. The doctors said he was completely healthy. No lasting damage from the poisoning. We moved to a new house, started fresh, left behind the memories of Marcus's manipulation. I took full control of the company Jason had built. The board respected me now. They'd seen how I'd handled the crisis, how I'd protected the company while taking down a murderer. Under my leadership, the company thrived. We expanded into new markets, doubled our revenue, became more successful than ever. I started a foundation in Jason and Noah's names. It helped families affected by corporate fraud and violent crime. It gave them legal resources and support. Every family we helped was a victory over people like Marcus. Every person we protected was justice served. Noah grew up strong and healthy. He never forgot what his uncle had done, but he didn't let it define him. And Marcus? He rotted in a maximum security prison, forgotten by everyone except the justice system that had finally caught him. 1 year after Marcus's conviction, I held a press conference to announce the opening of the Jason and Noah Foundation's new headquarters. Reporters from major news outlets attended, victims' advocates, business leaders, everyone who'd followed the case. I stood at the podium with Noah beside me, looking out at the crowd. My husband built a company based on integrity. His brother destroyed that integrity through greed and violence. He murdered the man I loved. He tried to murder my son. I paused, looking directly at the cameras. Marcus thought I was desperate. He thought I would give up everything to save Noah. He thought he could manipulate me, control me, break me. But I was just patient. And while he thought he was winning, I was documenting every crime, gathering every piece of evidence, building a case that would destroy him completely. I smiled slightly. And now he's the one begging for mercy. Now he's the one who lost everything. His freedom, his reputation, his future. This foundation exists because of what we survived. Because my husband tried to warn us. Because justice matters. Because families deserve protection from predators, even when those predators share their blood. The crowd erupted in applause. Noah squeezed my hand. Later, alone in my office, I looked at Jason's photo on my desk. We got him, I whispered. He paid for what he did to you. To us. To our family. I could almost hear Jason's voice responding. I knew you would. You're stronger than he ever imagined. Marcus had tried to take everything. Instead, he'd given me purpose. I turned his attempt to destroy us into something meaningful. Something that helped others. He thought he was clever. Thought he was untouchable. But he forgot something crucial. A mother protecting her child is the most dangerous person in the world. And I'd protected Noah. Avenged Jason. Destroyed Marcus completely. He thought he'd won by killing my husband. Instead, he'd created his own destruction. Because I remembered everything. Documented everything. And I made sure justice was served. Marcus Ward died in prison 5 years later. Heart attack. Alone. Forgotten. Noah graduated college. Took over the company. Continued his father's legacy. And I finally found peace. Not because Marcus died, but because I'd proven that evil doesn't always win. Sometimes the patient ones do. Sometimes justice takes time. But it always arrives.